Good evening, everybody, future Clarkies, future Cougars. I want to thank you, first of all, for taking time to join us tonight. We're going to talk about athletics and recreation at Clark. You're going to hear from some student athletes, you're going to hear from a coach, you're going to have a chance to ask questions, and hopefully come out of this with a better sense about what opportunities exist at Clark for athletics and recreation. My name is Jess Howland, and I am the Associate Director for Admissions at Clark. I'm also the Athletics Liaison, which means that I work very closely with coaches and recruited athletes during the admission process. And before we get started, I just want to go over kind of how this works. If you want to ask questions, we totally encourage you to do that. You will notice that there is a Q&A feature in the toolbar. So please use that if you want to ask questions. If you want to let us know that there's some sort of technical issue, you can put that in the chat, but primarily we're going to be checking the Q&A for questions. We'll try to get to those throughout the webinar, and we'll definitely save some time at the end for questions. So feel free to start popping those in there kind of as soon as they come to you. Don't feel like you have to wait till the end. But to introduce our panelists, we've got a great group tonight. We've got Jamie Joseph, who's on the women's soccer team. We've got Zach Conant, who is on the men's lacrosse team. And we've got Coach Paul Phillips, who is the head coach for the swimming and diving teams at Clark. So Jamie, do you want to start and just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Jamie. I use she, her pronouns. I'm from the Syracuse area, so upstate New York. My major is urban economic development geography with a minor in community youth education studies. And I am on the women's soccer team. And are we going to be introducing our whole thing right now or doing that later?
Just do some quick intros and then we'll kind of go back to each of you. Yeah.
All right. Sounds good. Yep. So I'm on the women's soccer team and I have a couple other involvements that you'll hear about later.
Awesome. Thank you. And Zach, can you take a moment and just introduce yourself really quick?
Yeah, sure. My name is Zach. As mentioned by Jess, I'm on the men's lacrosse team. I'm a major in econ with a minor in data science and management. Outside the classroom, I am the co-founder and vice president of Clark University DECA, which is a business club on campus. I'm also a member of the Clark University Investment and Training Club.
Great, thank you. And Coach Phillips, can you take a minute and just introduce yourself real quick?
Sure. I'm Paul Phillips. I'm the head men's and women's swimming and diving coach. I'm also an assistant athletic director. My secondary responsibilities over the last couple of years as assistant athletic director have been working on social justice issues within the athletic department and working with various student groups around campus to help formulate a positive culture and a more positive culture within our athletic department, which I've really enjoyed.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Paul. All right, so we're going to let each of our panelists take a few minutes and just talk a little bit about their experiences with athletics, recreation, and all things active at Clark. And they'll talk for a couple minutes, and then we'll have some time for you to ask some questions. And feel free to ask questions about their athletic or recreational involvements, but also if you have questions about their majors or other things that they mentioned, please feel free to ask those questions as well. But all right, Jamie, take it away. Give us a little bit about what you do at Clark.
All right. So like I said, I'm on the women's soccer team. Coming into college, I was really excited to play soccer. Like I knew I wanted to do that, but I also wanted to find a school that really valued academics and involvement, and especially community involvement. So I really found that here at Clark, just because I feel like we're not just a sports team. The women's soccer team sort of prides ourselves in the academic realm of things. We do have a 3.9 GPA. We always love to point that out. But aside from that, we also are pretty involved on campus. So there's kind of a couple different initiatives. There's the Student Athletic Advisory Coalition, and that's SAC, and I'm a part of that. And through that, there's CAKE, which is the Clark Athletic Inclusion Coalition. So that kind of always centers diversity, inclusion, and equity. And I just joined that, so I've gone to the last couple meetings. And that just really focuses on, getting athletics involved in change, which is something that is really, special to me and meaningful to me. So I've been glad that I've gotten to do that. Aside from my traditional, experience as a student athlete, I also have kind of done some fun things on the side that also have to do with just being active and, moving our bodies and everything. So I started this club called Uplift, which is an all women's, trans, and non-binary student lifting, like actually a weightlifting club, but also it talks about health and wellness. We do like food stuff, all those sort of discussions, which has been really fun. We are unfortunately on a hiatus this semester, but last semester it was great to get out with a bunch of new people. And I also have some experience in some intramural basketball. My team, some of the women's soccer team started an intramural team for basketball, and it was just something to get us moving on the off season. But yeah, that I've kind of have, a couple different experiences with just athletics in general in Clark. So if you have any questions about clubs or intramurals or varsity soccer especially, then you can ask any questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jamie. All right, Zach, we'd love to hear from you next about your experiences with Clark in athletics.
Awesome. Yeah. So I think for me, just being a second year student already, Clark has kind of changed. Clark Athletics especially has kind of changed who I am as a student, as a person, and as, an athlete itself. I feel, when within that team environment that you may have, I've always just noticed kind of like an accountability system, helped me become a better person, especially right now in the world that we're in. We're always working, become stronger as a group and stronger as a country. And as a team, we're able to sit down and talk, and go over those issues and kind of, really get everything out on the table, get feelings, vibes from everyone else, and kind of have a better understanding, and then, try to go make a change as a team. We may not be able to make, a large change, but, we're working to make some type of change, which may roll over and help. As a student, I think athletics has really helped me, especially just kind of with time management. I know, with practice all the time, we're not as, as busy as a Division I program, but, we still have like 3 to 4 hours dedicated a day. So we're able to, when we're not doing that, it kind of pushes us to, hey, maybe go do your work during this time, and then going back to that team aspect, if you're having trouble with work, there's, for my team, there's 50 guys that are right there to help you out. They'll always be there for you with any issue you may have, whether that be picking a class, a homework question, or, anything like that. As an athlete, I think being here at Clark is, everyone's kind of accepting of who you are and who you try to be. And I think that's really important, whether, some people at other schools may not fit in different ways. Here, if you're an athlete and you're trying to do something different, the school allows you to do so. And, the people on your team will help you out. For me, am very interested in business, and I take a lot of my time out of my day, as I mentioned, starting that club, DECA, and I just feel, being an athlete at Clark, a lot of the athletes are helping me out with starting that club, whether that be joining, giving me ideas. A large amount of our e-board for that club is actually athletes. I believe 8 out of 10 of us are actually athletes, or 7 out of 10 of us are actually athletes. So, athletic is more just, as I'm rounding this up, is more, focused on academics, and you're able to, become a better student because, as my mom always told me, lacrosse is only going to take you 4 or 5 years in college, and after that you're out in the real world. So you really need to take your academics seriously. Outside of academics, outside of athletics, varsity athletics, there's so many different ways to stay active. I know for me, I'm not in the swing team, but the pool is open when the swing team isn't using it. So you're allowed to use that as any Clark University student. The weight room's always open. As Jamie mentioned, there's different types of clubs, even one that she started, Uplift, that you can join to, maybe learn how to lift, learn how to work out, different type of wellness education systems for that. So there's so many options. And then, through club sports and intramural sports, you can get some competition in. So, at Clark, being an athlete doesn't mean just, being a varsity athlete. It can be a little bit of everything.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Zach, for sharing. And I will say, as a staff member, we also have access to a lot of really great recreation opportunities, which is really nice. One of the perks about working at Clark is that you do get a free gym membership, which is really awesome. All right, Coach Phillips, you want to take a couple of minutes and just talk a little bit about your experience at Clark from the other side of the coaching desk, I guess.
Sure. I think I'm starting my 19th year at Clark. Not going to ask Jess to help me out with counting those years, but I guess I'll just say that one of the things that I enjoy most about Clark is if we don't have it, you can usually start it, and that's that applies to me as well as a staff member, as an athletics staff member. I came to Clark as a swimming and diving coach, and very quickly found my way into getting interested in lots of other things, whether it was working with admissions or whether it was working, like I said, within our department with social justice issues. Jamie mentioned the Clark Athletics Inclusion Coalition that I feel so fortunate to have been able to work with the founders of that organization last year to really come up with a concept for it and really enact it. It's something that's pretty unique, I think, to Clark. I don't know lots of other places, I think, have different student organizations, but at Clark, you know, this might sound a little weird to people who are not at Clark, but you can do things at Clark that are very Clark, if that makes sense. You know, I mean, we have a very, active community, and it's a friendly community. And when there are interests that people have, they can pursue them. And so in my program, on the swimming and diving team, we have athletes, and Zach and Jamie, I'm sure, can, you know, they both talk about all the things they're interested in. I mean, we've got musicians, we've got theater majors, we've got double majors, we've got people who are activists, we've got people who, do community service. One thing that's so great about Clark is our location. Clark is considered an urban institution, but in my opinion, you know, a true urban institution might be someplace like a Boston University or New York University, Columbia, you know, these places where the universities are built into the fabric of a city. And at Clark, you kind of get the best of both worlds, you know, where we're in a city, but we're not like woven into the downtown area of the city, although it's close by, you know. But on our campus, I always like to say, you know, you've got grass and trees, right? So we've got some, beauty and some private spaces on our campus that feels very suburban, but yet we're in an urban neighborhood. And that really speaks to some people who are interested in Clark, who come onto this campus and look around at our neighborhood and say, you know what, I have opportunities to be involved in the real world. I've got opportunities to be involved in community service, and it's right here in our neighborhood. So, and again, Zach and Jamie, I'm sure, can talk about what you all do with your teams, but not just what you do with your teams, but what your friends do on their own, you know, what your teammates do on their own, because it's so accessible where we are, and it's so easy to be active and engaged in the Clark community and the local community and play a sport or do intramurals or club sports or fitness or wellness or yoga or anything like that. So Clark students are very active. They're very engaged in lots of different things. And that's one of the things that I enjoy most about working with my athletes and working with our athletes and our recreation people in general. I would be bored if all I did was walk around with a stopwatch. You know, I like that we can be involved in lots of different things. And Zach and Jamie spoke really eloquently about that as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So we already have a number of questions. So unless anyone has anything else that they wanted to add, let's go right to the questions. So here's our first question is, how diverse would you say the soccer team is? And I'll let Jamie answer that, but I think I'd love for some of the other folks to kind of speak generally about diversity within the other athletic teams as well.
Yeah, so there is a bit of a difference between men's and women's soccer. So I think you will find a little bit more diversity on the women's soccer team, but also, you know, there's a range of our definitions in diversity. So if we're talking about like diversity in thought, we have so many different majors and everything, which really allows for just a plethora of perspectives to be heard. As far as like race and ethnicity goes, we are a predominantly white institution, which does mean, you know, we're striving for diversity and we, you know, center equity in all of our conversations, but that doesn't mean that, like, I don't want to sell you on saying, you know, everything's diverse and everything's, you know, perfect at a university, because I think that it's, you know, you need to recognize that we are predominantly white institution. But one really cool thing, like I said, we have is cake. And with that, we've been able to start certain initiatives. So I know over the summer, the soccer team, the women's soccer team, started this Juggles for Justice. And we actually did that within the NEWMAC, so within the league that we play in, so the New England Men's and Women's Conference. And actually we were able to get all of the women's teams that we play, so like WPI and all of them, to pick an organization to donate to. And we actually were able to do juggles and have those conversations around Black Lives Matter movements and all of that sort of stuff. So there are opportunities to discuss and center diversity on the soccer team, but you know, it's not mostly POCs on the team.
Awesome, thank you. Paul, did you want to add to the conversation a little bit?
Yeah, I think it's really important what Jamie said, because Clark does tout diversity, and we do have lots of diversity in terms of international students from different countries all over the world. Diversity comes in lots of different forms, as Jamie said: diversity of thought, diversity of academic background. It's much more than what people look like necessarily. And I think it's really important the way Jamie answered that question, because it's something that's very important, I know, to her team, and it's very important to me, and it's very important to our athletic department to strive for diversity. And what that means is not proclaiming to be exactly where we want to be, whether it's at Clark or in our world or in our communities. So this is something that we're constantly striving for. But at the same time, I know on our team, we've had lots of international students over the years, and they just bring a ton of diversity and perspective to our American students that I really value. I'll save a spot on my team for someone who's from a diverse background, even if they're not the greatest swimmer. We can do that in swimming. Can't always do that in soccer or lacrosse or some of those other sports, but in swimming in general, everybody gets a chance to play, so to speak. So, we'll always make room for those people that add something like that to the team. And that's because Clark allows us to value that, which I'm really proud of.
Awesome. Thank you so much for answering that. And then we've got a couple of questions actually for Zach and Jamie about, as athletes, how do you balance academics and athletics? How do you manage to get all your academics done, go to your classes, as well as be a competitive athlete? So if each of you could take a minute to kind of address how that works for you, that would be great.
Yeah, I can take this one real quick. Just for me personally, between athletics, academic work, clubs, work, admissions work, you're going to be very busy here. But the point of, the athletic system here is, being a Division III school, is, as time committed to your sport. So you're allowed more time, to go out and dive into your academics, get deeper in, do different types of research. It's actually encouraged within our programs. I know, if I ever, shoot my text coach and say, hey, I got a really big test to study for, or long essay to write, I might be a little late to practice. There's no question. There's no questions. There's no arguments. It's, straight to the point. That's fine. That's awesome. Now, it's academics first. But I think for, time management wise, as I mentioned, with not being as strict, Division III playing wise of how much time you can play, I find it very easy to kind of fit in through the day. And, having the athletic schedule and knowing ahead of time that, hey, I have class here, I have practice from this time, and then lift after that. You're able, when your free time, you're able to kind of write it out and understand, that's when I got to do my work. That's when I get my work done. So that's kind of how I do it, is more just kind of, laying out my day, time management type of thing, rather than, sitting around and not thinking about it, and then, doing it last minute.
Yeah, kind of going off of that, I agree with everything Zach says. We always say that our GPA or how we're performing in classes is always better in season, which is kind of weird. It's counterintuitive to think about because you have less time, but it does structure your time in a way that makes you really on top of things and really focused. But aside from that, another thing I love to point out about being on a team and being on a team that's really academically focused is that you always have someone who has already taken a class. Like, you have friends that are seniors, and they serve as like a really great support system when you're on a team and taking classes. I know one of my best friends that was a senior last year, she's doing 5th year here. She is really good at GIS, and I'm in a GIS course right now, and it's not my strong suit, and she'll come, you know, on a weekend and sit with me for hours trying to figure it out. So you always have someone who's like really willing to help you and kind of knows just knows what college classes are like and has a better perspective just because they're older and, you know, wiser about those things.
Awesome. Thank you so much for providing your perspective on work-life balance with, you know, while being a varsity athlete. So our next question is about intramural sports. So the question is, are the intramural sports as good or close to the quality of varsity sports? And do they have access to the same fields, courts, et cetera, as the varsity teams?
So intramurals, we have at Clark, we have intramurals and club sports. Intramurals are competed within the Clark community, right? So a bunch of people in your dorm, you get together, you form a team, you join a league, and you know, there'll be kind of like a regular season and then a tournament at the end and some kind of prize, maybe if you win, like a t-shirt or, you know, something like that. All of those activities utilize the same facilities as the varsity programs. So we have our varsity gym, we have our field house, we have our fields. Recently, in recent years, Clark has turfed over all of our grass fields. So our grass soccer field, which we used to call the museum, because all you could do is look at it in the fall and the spring if there was a lot of rain and stuff like that, is now turfed over. So that opens it up for use, not just by the soccer programs, but also intramurals and club sports as well. So intramurals is more like what people do on campus. It's more loose and for fun. Club sports that we do have, they do compete against outside competition. And again, when they're practicing and competing at Clark, they use all the same facilities as the varsity sports. The varsity sports do get priority for those facilities for our, you know, to plan our practices and things like that, but it all takes place in the same facilities. Club sports and intramurals are definitely not on the same level as varsity in terms of the time commitment and the level of ability that it takes to make a team. But the people who compete in intramurals, and I don't know if Jamie and Zach like have friends that do that, but they get pretty intense about it, and it gets pretty serious and it gets pretty fun. So yeah, and all of that falls under athletics and recreation. So we in the athletics department oversee all of that, which means that you get to interact with some of the coaches, and we get to support those students as well. And also faculty and graduate students participate in intramurals as well, which makes it a little extra fun.
Awesome, thank you. And did anyone else want to add anything about the intramural or club sport experience at Clark?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that I think everyone who plays like a sport, whether it's intramural to like varsity, is really passionate about it. It's just sort of like the time commitment. And you know, when we go out and play intramural basketball, it's just like a really fun time, but we're still like in it to win it. And we just meet like 2 times a week, but you know, you just start going up in time commitment and serious, like how serious other people are taking it and stuff too.
Yeah, I think another thing to mention real quick is that a lot of the varsity athletes actually are able to, you know, compete in club sports and club sports and intramural sports. I know a couple of guys on my team will do like the intramural basketball tournament. And then there's like flag football that they always do on Sunday mornings down at the turf. And then, you know, for club sports, a bunch of lacrosse players actually end up doing ice hockey. We go over and watch their games. I'm considering doing it, even though I've never played ice hockey in my life. Don't know how that'd be on my body, but we'll figure that one out when we get there. But no, I just think it's an awesome opportunity that, you know, even though there's varsity athletes doing varsity athlete things, they'll also be, you know, among you with, you know, intramurals, club sports.
Awesome, thank you. So now we've got a couple of questions about trying out for teams. So a question about how competitive are tryouts, how many students are able to walk on a team versus being recruited with, you know, respect to your sports that you represent, and how do you join a team if you're not a recruited athlete? So if you could all kind of address those 3 similar questions, that would be great.
Yeah, I can take real quick, just kind of from a student perspective. I believe last year we had two students who kind of walked on here. Um, the tryout for the lacrosse team, I can't speak for the other teams, but I know for the lacrosse team is more kind of you're just like a normal athlete. You're thrown into the practices, and we're doing our normal thing, which is our fall ball. We get 4 weeks of fall ball, in a normal world outside of COVID. And I just think it's kind of if you're able to compete at practice and kind of do your job, and you look like you fit in well, then it's kind of a way to that then you'll be on the team from there on out. And if not, if it's not a fit, the coach will do it and let you go very respectively. Um, but yeah, I think it's just if you want to try out for a team, I think the best bet now is to kind of maybe shoot out an email, or try to get the coach's contact information. You can do that through admissions, but that would be the best way of getting in contact with them, so they kind of know who you are while you're coming onto campus next year, rather than kind of giving them an email the day before practice and showing up with like no pads. So I think that's your best bet, is to reach out. The sooner the better, I'd say, for that.
Awesome, thank you. And how about with soccer or swimming? What does the walk-on process look like?
Yeah, so I was gonna say it kind of depends on your sport or even the season. So I know, because soccer's in the fall and we do have a preseason which starts before the Clarkies get on campus, so non-student athletes get on campus. So if you're planning to walk on the soccer team, you should probably, like Zach said, have emailed or gotten in contact with the coaches, like if you're trying to do a fall sport, just because you're here before and you'd have a separate move-in date and all that sort of thing. I know teams like the rowing team and stuff, they're pretty, you don't do go through a recruitment process. It's more like on a walk-on basis. I mean, I bet you would be able to contact the coach and go through that way, but it is like heavily walk-ons. And for us, I know we do have like tryouts during the preseason, so people are welcome to come if you do contact our coach. But there's sometimes, it depends on the numbers, and if there are cuts, like there was cuts my freshman year but not my sophomore year, and obviously now we didn't have a preseason. So yeah, it kind of just depends, but I would highly recommend just reaching out with an email.
And how about for swimming and diving, Paul? What does that process look like for your teams?
Yeah, I think anyone who contacts a Clark coach and expresses interest in playing a sport, is going to be asked some questions about your background and things like that. Swimming and diving is the type of program where we can take some walk-ons, and even if it's a swimmer who doesn't keep up that well in the pool, as long as they don't quit and they keep trying every day, we'll usually end up with a spot for that person. We will also try to convince anyone that walks into my office, if they're not a competitive swimmer, hey, why don't you hop on the diving board and give that a try? We've had lots of people who never dove before have a lot of success in that sport. But in general, if you want to play a varsity sport in college, any sport, you should definitely try to get in touch with the coach as early as possible, so you can know what your options are.
Awesome. And if anybody wants contact information for any of the athletic teams, feel free to let us know, and we can definitely hook you up with some coach emails. Feel free to put that in the Q&A or chat, or you can email us at the admissions email address, and we can definitely share that with you. All right, so we have another question about what are the athletics teams doing to get involved with Worcester? And I know that that's a pretty big part of the Clark experience. So if I could hear from each of you how your teams are involved with Worcester, that would be great.
Yeah, so specifically through SAC, which is the Student Athletic Committee, they kind of have a lot of connections with a local elementary school, Columbus Park. So you can actually like sign up to do tutoring through like K through 6th grade. So I know a couple of my teammates do that an hour here and there on the weekends. And it's really fun because you just get to, meet kids around the neighborhood. In college, you're not really around kids. So it's just kind of a fun way to get involved that way. And also, we do go over there and run recesses, like when COVID's not happening and we're in a normal situation. We've gone over there a couple of times during recess and ran like practices and stuff. So it's like kind of a structured recess that you get to do with the kids. So yeah, there's a lot of going on with like the local youth, just because they love soccer and they want, you know, to hear and see and play with college athletes. They always think it's super cool. And then other than that, it's really up to your team to kind of create fundraisers and stuff like that. I know the basketball team did a whole like NAACP fundraising. We did Juggles for Justice, and you can pick a local organization to donate to with that. But yeah.
Awesome, thank you. How about the lacrosse team, Zach? What do you guys do in
I
Worcester?
think kind of the same thing as Jamie through SAC. You know, you can sign up and go down and tutor students and work with students. I know there's between, you know, through all of athletics, they do like a street cleanup, especially in our area around campus. Clark students will go out and kind of clean up the trash on the side of the street, you know, take care, make our city look a lot better, you know, a lot cleaner. I think, you know, for a lacrosse team, we work more, you know, trying to spread the game. So this may not be in the Worcester area, but sometimes it does come back in the Worcester area. I know a big thing a lot of lacrosse players know about is Harlem Lacrosse. Our coach actually works well with affiliate of Harlem Lacrosse, and we just did a pad donation. You know, we have some old pads we don't use anymore that are still in great shape, old sticks and all that. And our team, you know, we gather those and send them off to Harlem Lacrosse, and they'll be, you know, given out to lacrosse players who are less fortunate to have as nice as gear of us, or, you know, maybe even not even have a stick, or, you know, maybe give them 2 sticks so they have a buddy to throw with when they're at home. You know, so we're really trying to spread the game in that way, you know, more than just, you know, obviously helping out in the city, like Jamie said, we're doing all that stuff, but also outside, trying to make a difference, you know, and grow the game to, you know, different types of people.
Thank you. And Paul, what's the swim team doing to get involved with the community outside of Clark?
Yeah, we do. We have a few things that we do. And again, like I said, the greatest part about all this is that it's right in our neighborhood. So these touches that we make within the community, they're really meaningful. It's not like at Clark, you have to get on a bus and travel someplace to, you know, to do some community service. So we partner with the Worcester Boys and Girls Club swim team. They come and visit us twice a year. We run a clinic with them in the spring, and then in the fall, they come and participate in a event that we do for sarcoma research called Our Power. All of the Clark teams partner with one of the schools in our neighborhood called Columbus Park Prep. Every school will head over to Columbus Park. Every team will head over there once or twice a year. And again, it's just a short walk away from campus, and spend some time with the kids and the teachers there. For us on the swim team, we invite they're called avid learners. They have to do a series of things to earn this privilege, but we invite them up to our pool at the end of the first semester and the second semester, and we throw them a pool party and we get them pizza and all that other stuff. So, and the swim team also runs the swim lesson program. We teach about 100 kids every semester. So, again, the best thing, like I said about Clark, is that if you want to be active and serve in the community, you can do a lot of it, and it doesn't take up a lot of your time in terms of traveling away from campus. It's really something that all of us at Clark just really enjoy.
Awesome, thank you. I have to say, I was amazed to see all of the different ways that our athletics teams are involved with, you know, just different community involvements. It's really awesome and inspiring. So thanks for sharing some of those. All right, Zach and Jamie, this one's for each of you. Why did you choose Clark over all the other schools that you got accepted to?
I can take that one first. I think for me, I liked kind of the smaller school feel, and I was looking at like a bunch of different schools, large schools, higher Division I, Division II schools, and, you know, smaller Division III schools. And I found like really kind of what I liked and what I enjoyed was being in a smaller campus setting, you know, while still being on that lacrosse team. I think for me, being able to how Clark itself and Clark Athletics really stresses, you know, a student first, and I keep mentioning that, but I just think it's so important. You know, you're gonna be an athlete for 4 years, and then you're gonna take what you learned as a student and go take on life with it. So I think it's really important for me, you know, that I was going to a school that kind of understood that I want to do the best I can in academics, and then, you know, athletics is going to be something I'm going to work hard in and, you know, try to become great at, but, you know, it won't take me as far. So I think, you know, when I was touring schools, I just found that Clark really stresses a program that, you know, you're going to be able to take time in your work, start clubs, join clubs, be able to, take part in different things, help, we always say challenge convention, change our world, even though it sounds like it gets over and over, but I mean, it's really true. We get to, try to do new things and try to help people out, rather than just going to lacrosse practice all the time, walking back to sitting in our dorms and doing homework all night. I just found for me, Clark was a great opportunity to, dive into a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I have a similar sort of feeling. And also just because in high school, I felt like I was involved in a various amounts of activities. I was like in band and all of that sort of thing, and community service clubs. And I really didn't want to pigeonhole myself into just being a soccer player and just having that as my identity, or being around people whose sole identity was being an athlete. And so I think that I chose Clark because everyone on my team was involved in something other than sports, and also just really passionate about what they were doing. And also just like when I did my overnight here, it just felt like home, kind of like the family vibe of our team. We're really close and we're really supportive. So all of that led me to my decision to come to Clark.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. All right, so we have a couple of questions about time management. Again, this keeps coming up. I feel like this is like an important topic for athletes. But so basically, people want to know, what's your hours per day that you spend studying versus working out versus practicing, and then when you travel to go to games, what does that time commitment look like? And is that on weekends or weekdays? And feel free to speak from a pre-COVID standpoint when you answer this question, because I know this year things are a little different.
Yeah, so I can kind of say real quick, I'll answer the travel question first, so I can kind of get that out of the way real quick. Jamie's probably on the same page with me. We play pretty much the same teams. Travel on weekends is not too far. I think rarely, I don't know if Jamie ever has stayed in a hotel for a close game, but which whether down to Coast Guard, I think is one of our longest drives, Trinity, those are all like an hour and 15 minutes away from here. So game day, it's more, kind of just wake up and you can be focused on lacrosse, not really have to worry about, going across the country to go play a school in California. So we're there and back within the day. It does take a good chunk of your day. You got to get there for pregame and warm up and all that. But we aren't traveling too far. So if you're playing on a Saturday, say, which I believe is most of our game days, you'll go, for a 2:00 game, you'll leave here about 10, you'll be back by like 6 latest. And then you kind of the rest of the weekend, kind of get ready for the week and all that. During the week, I'd say I spend, about 3 hours with the team for lacrosse practice, whether that be, kind of 2.5 hour practice and then, warming up before that, getting down to the field. And then outside of that time, it's more just kind of my own structured time. We do individual lifts sometimes, so I spend about 2 hours a day in the weight room or working out in some other way. And aside from that, it's kind of all for me, I'd say studying, and probably about 4 or 5 hours a day of, homework, studying, all that stuff, and then you're in your classes for 2-3 hours a day. And, the rest of the time is kind of filled up with what I'm interested in. And, that could be a 2-hour chunk a day. It could be like a 5-hour chunk a day. Kind of just depends on the day. For me, it's DECA. I'm working hard at that. So, in my free time, I'll be doing that, hanging out and, kind of, trying different things, whether that be joining clubs, trying maybe an intramural sport or a club sport, or, kind of going to a different event on campus. So you kind of have, you'll have time to fit in everything in a day.
Yeah, so with the NUMAC, like Zach said, you're never really traveling more than 2 hours, which is really amazing. We also only usually have 2 game days. So I know for women's soccer, it's Tuesday, Saturday, and they do a really good job communicating with like the registrar's office. So they will block out your schedule when you have a game day. So when you go to register for classes, you'll make sure, you're not butting up right against when you have to leave and stuff like that. But with that being said, I've never had to like choose my classes around soccer because our coach kind of puts classes first. So you register, she'll make the practice schedules, and you just know in the back of your head that like Tuesday you can't take a night class, which rarely, those are mostly grad classes anyway and higher level classes. So it's not usually an issue. But along with that, like I've found that it's really a healthy mix of stuff that I want to do. Like I work at admissions, like obviously both Zach and I are able to hold jobs, and I also work at the gym. And so I think that really it's just about how you want to structure your day. So college is, you're not going to class from 8 to 3. You get to pick your own schedule with your own classes. So you might have like one class a day that you have to go to. And then it's just about, structuring your time well and doing homework. But I think, like I've said, in past answers, that your team really keeps you on track, and you're just around a bunch of different people that are really motivated. So I know, like, we'll go to the library with teammates for like 3 hours probably every day, or go to some off-campus house together, do work, and then there's movie nights that we do together. So you definitely find a way to get everything done and still have a social life and still work and do everything that you want to do.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, so we have a question specifically for you, Zach. So this person is interested in playing lacrosse and also interested in business as a major. Can you talk a little bit about opportunities for experience in business, either with internships or courses that you've taken?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I'd say for business, Clark has a long list of connections. My club personally, I can speak from experience. Our club's goal is to start, a network here at Clark for business executives and recruiters to kind of handpick students that are not only, finance, accounting, data science, data analytics students, but also students who take time out of their day to dedicate, extra time to doing, that type of work and stuff. So it's more like a dedicated group that we're trying to build. And through that, we've found like so many opportunities that Clark has to offer. My roommate and I are really working closely with the Career Connection Center, which will be huge for any major because they have I believe there's a pipeline of over 250 companies with Clark graduates alone or people who openly recruit from Clark yearly. That we kind of been given access to, which is a great opportunity. And, even if you're not part of our club, you still have that access to the Career Connection Center where they'll kind of get in there and, maybe you're able to, from my own experience, I'm able to grab an internship, kind of from past experiences, maybe who I know. But if you're not on that page, when you need, a little help, maybe getting introduced to someone or something along that line, you can go to the Career Connections Center and, they'll kind of help you out, work on your resume, build what a good interview might look like. And then kind of after doing that, after building you, kind of making you a better, a better student, a better person in that sense, they'll be able to, give you a couple connections they may have. Within the School of Management itself, which we're also working with the DECA, the classes are really like goaled towards not just sitting down all day and writing notes. I think that's just a whole different story about Clark that I just believe is awesome. You are able to kind of, do some different types of work in your field. Professors bring their own work. I have one professor who is an accountant, and he's actually an accountant and he's a teacher. So he brings kind of those real world problems and issues he's seen in the accounting world to our class. I think that's really special. And then from those opportunities, meeting teachers who are working in the field, they also have a list of connections and network. And the Graduate School of Management, the head, Alan, and then Laura Burgess, who is associate dean up at the Graduate School of Management, they also will help out anyone who comes to them. They're there with open arms, saying, you want opportunity, you work hard, good grades, good person. They'll have no question in helping you out. So I think, kind of extensive opportunities in such a small school, which I think which makes it really why Clark separates from other schools.
Thanks.
Just want to piggyback on what Zach was talking about. One of the things that I love the most about Clark, like I said, personally, I really think that when I became a college coach, I really felt like I would be really bored if all I did was twirl a stopwatch and a whistle all day. And one of the most incredible things about Clark is how accessible the professors are. Professors at Clark, if I pick up the phone and I call a professor, they either answer the phone right there or they will get back in touch with me within 24 hours to discuss any issues that my athletes are having in their classes or even otherwise. And the management program in particular at Clark is really, it's business management, but it used to be called just management. And I think it's really great because it's hands-on. It's a lot of group learning. And it's a very active business management program as opposed to one where you maybe just sitting there and studying numbers and things like that. So just wanted to piggyback on that.
Nice. Thank you so much. And we have time for one final question tonight. And I think this one's probably really appropriate, and so I'd love to hear from each of you, but how are all of the teams adapting to COVID-19? So what does that look like for each of your experiences?
Yeah, so I think we've done actually like a pretty good job. I have a couple friends at other schools, Division 1 through 3, that haven't been really able to get out there and play, or if they are, it's not in the safest way. So at Clark, we are getting tested 3 times a week, which makes things really, just safe, and everyone feels a lot more comfortable, going to practice and stuff like that. And so we don't have a season. So we don't have like traditional games where we're playing the NUMAC, but we are able to still practice. We practice with masks. We try to use social distancing in the beginning, and now we've phased into a program where we're able to do drills as a full team. So we started off in pods. I live off campus in a house with about a third of my team. So we were all in one pod, which was really nice because we lived together. We already were in our sort of own bubble, and the kids on campus who still live on campus were their own bubble, and another house with their own bubble. And so we just practiced for 2 weeks, phased in some things. And now, almost 2 months in, and we're all able to play and scrimmage each other, which has been really nice. I know it's not like playing, WPI or anything like that, but it has been nice to just get touches. And we're really using this as an opportunity to just work on stuff that we're not good at. So, we're using our left feet, and we're doing stuff that we wouldn't probably have the time to really focus on. So although we are losing out on games, I think it's also a really great opportunity to just hone in on our skills, and we've been able to do it in a, safe and comfortable way.
Yeah, I kind of go off what Jamie's saying. Our season, unfortunately, was cut short last year. We had we got 5 games in last year, but, kind of was, for me as a freshman last year was a lot of things I need to learn. I think our coach understood that, kind of in 5 games, you can see real fast what a team needs to improve. So this fall we're dealing, kind of same thing as Jamie, starting in small groups. And now we've worked our way all the way up to, I believe, 25 people max to a practice with a little bit more contact because we are testing. And I think that speaks greatly to what Clark has done to handle it. Being a smaller school, it is a lot easier to handle. And then some of the larger schools, but, being tested 3 times a week, everyone on campus wearing masks really helps us out, with our case to play in the spring. So all you at home, please wear your mask so we can have a season. Wash your hands, all that good stuff. But, as I said, I feel like as a team, we're doing a great job handling it. No cases yet. And hopefully it stays that way. As Jamie said, we're working on, kind of getting the fundamentals back to shape. And, the coaches are really understanding of, what the regulations are, what the rules are, and they make sure to follow those very strictly so we can be safe and have that spring season we're all hoping for.
I'm really proud to be at Clark with the way that the university has chosen to handle COVID. Clark made some really good decisions, I feel, right up front. One of which is we're going to be done for the first semester on November 20th, at least on campus, which means we only have about a little bit less than a month to go. And so far, case count has been very low, extremely low. The fall sports have made it through their fall seasons for the most part. Winter sports are gearing up. And then we're going to be coming back in the second semester. We're going to plan to come back a little later. And I think that's really going to be a great advantage for Clark, because should things take a turn for the worse during the winter, there might be other schools that have to push their return date back later. Clark's already done that, and Clark is already offering intersession classes as well. So I think they really did some really good planning for this. And the students and Jeff and myself, we can all speak to the fact that when you go to get tested, it literally takes 5 minutes. It doesn't interrupt your day. Students are being tested every 3 days. And I can say that my students, my swimmers and divers, they really have been uplifting me as a coach, because as a coach, difficult for us to try to lay a plan out when no one really knows, what's going to be happening, and so we've been swimming for mental health. We've been swimming for, fitness and togetherness and really just supporting each other. And it's really been awesome. So while we're not competing and we're not able to travel and we're not able to have our normal experience, what I'm hearing, I run a coaches panel every Monday. I get together with a bunch of the coaches and we talk about how things are going. The athletes are really uplifting us in the way they're supporting each other. And you guys are doing an awesome job. So keep it up.
Thank you so much. So we're about out of time, but I just wanted to thank everybody who joined us. It was really great hearing your questions and giving our athletes and our coach a chance to share a little bit about their experiences. If we didn't get to your question or you think of one later, please feel free to reach out. You can send things to the admissions inbox and we'll connect you with different coaches or players or teams on campus. But in the meantime, just everybody, stay safe, stay healthy, take care of yourselves and others, and we hope to see you soon. Good night.
Thank you.